hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you. I was just checking.
Know who our person is to be responsible for reviewing these, but have any questions on these minutes or comments or corrections? And what am I doing wrong getting paid back? No, I'm muted, I thought.
Of the speaker maybe.
That'd be my phone. Because I don't know.
I think that fixed it.
I think that fixed it already.
I guess
I think that's good. She guys said that we know. Go and run it down to your profile. I'll use it. Go to your sub edge and see what's in there.
Any comments on the minutes, any questions? If not, do I have a motion?
I motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion by Ms. Pearson to approve the minutes as presented. Second,
Rose Thompson.
second, Ms. Thompson, vote, Ms. Thompson,
Yes.
Ms. Pearson,
Yes.
Mr. Bound,
Yes. And Mr. Nemick, yes.
vote yes, the motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the public hearing for the first financial integrity rating system. Tammy, are you ready?
Will you get him on board book or?
Good morning.
Morning.
He's
Good
not on
morning.
board book.
Starting on page 14, I provided the background information on this hearing and the Charter First rating. The Charter First Integrity Rating System of Texas is a rating system based on RMA's data from various sources, which I will be summarizing throughout this presentation. We are required to post notice of this hearing in the newspaper, which we have done, and we have attached that information on page 17 for your review. Our score for the current rating year is a 96 out of 100, and the report for this score is located on page 20. This score, as defined by TEA, is a superior score. There are 21 total indicators, 2 of which are not being scored this year due to the extended variables from the school shutdowns a few years ago. Several of the indicators related to the audit and the submissions are just yes, no responses, and some of the indicators are based on actual data from the 2022-2023 fiscal year. If we look at the report on page 25, you can see the Charter First score for our 21-22 fiscal year, which was 100. If we could now scroll to page 27, we'll review the financial management report. This report is designed to review all applicable transactions between the school district and its board of directors, as well as the superintendent. The amounts listed on this summary are all of the financial transactions between RMA and the applicable members for the period of 2022-2023. The transactions are split between reimbursements, outside compensation, gifts, and business transactions. As you can see, the applicable transactions are reimbursements for documented expenditures that were incurred for school business. And then scrolling forward to page 30, you'll find the current superintendent's contract, which is dated from April 1st, 23 through July 31st, 2026. And then on page 38, we're going to go ahead and discuss each of the indicators as part of Charter First. Here we go. So this is a comparison of some of the Charter First indicators between the 2 years. In the right column is our data for the current year rating, and in the left was the prior year. Indicators 1 through 6 are just yes, no questions with all passing scores. Indicator 7, as we can see at the top of the page here, measures cash on hand. Was the number of days cash on hand and current investments for the charter school sufficient to cover operating expenses? And we exclude depreciation from this calculation. Indicator 8 measures current assets and liabilities. Indicator 9 confirms that revenues exceed expenditures. Indicator 10, as you can see, is not being evaluated, but it does measure budget to actual expenses, and that indicator was not measured the year before either. Indicator 11 measures long-term solvency by looking at assets and liabilities. Indicator 12 measures debt service ratio for the district. And indicator 13 measures our debt to asset percentages. And then continuing to indicator 14 is our administrative cost ratio, which we discuss quite frequently. It measures our administrative expenses, which are function 21 and 41. And this year that changed to compare it to overall district expenditures instead of the expenditures for just the instructional expenses. Indicator 15 measures student to staff ratios. Indicator 16 is also not being evaluated, but it does measure actual ADA to estimated ADA for the district for the year. And indicator 17 measures our PEIMS data that we submit as a snapshot to our actual financial data at the end of the year. Indicators 18 through 21 are also just yes, no questions. And we had all passing scores on those indicators as well. So that's a comparison of the 2 years with a little bit of information and also the exact numbers for each of those indicators that were used to measure RMA. Does anybody have any questions on the Charter First reporting or this presentation?
Can you, for those that are new, Tammy, can you kind of go over what Charter First is supposed to be and more into detail, like what is it that we're supposed to be highlighting? Why the importance of Charter First? Just kind of give us a little overview.
Right. So TEA has, they have a Charter First indicator, and then they have just a regular first indicator for ISDs. The indicators are somewhat similar between ISDs and charters. It measures, it's just a tool that TEA uses to measure how schools are performing in various aspects. So everything from your financial data to your PEIMS data, your ratios between students and teachers, if those are declining, if they're staying the same. These 21 indicators are what the legislature has decided. This is legislature driven. And so the legislature has put TEA in charge of monitoring these indicators. And these are the most important factors that the legislator has decided that we want to measure schools by. So it looks at everything from budget to actual financial data, and the amount of staff that we have to the amount of students we have. And it just has, it measures whether those indicators are declining or whether they're staying the same, and how that deems the strength of the district.
Yeah.
This instrument also is Charter World. It's your report card financially. And
Yes.
if by chance you were failed your first 3 years in a row, then you would be closed down by TA. In the ISD world, districts can be unsatisfactory for years or can fail. But in the ISD world, you get 3 strikes, either academically or financially, and this is the financial report card. So it's important for that reason too. It doesn't seem important to us because we have been getting great scores for a long time, but other charters are really waiting to see what this is. Is this strike 3 or strike 2, or where are we as far as being out of business? So. Any other comments, questions? Not. Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you.
Information items, Dr. Anderson.
Good morning, everyone. I wanted to give you the enrollment information as well as some other things that's going on in the world of RMA and other educational places. As of September 17th, our enrollment number was at 1579. When we look at the breakdown as far as the SOS in progress, meaning that we're waiting on parents to complete an application, we had 206. They had started applications, they have not completed those. We have instructed campuses to reach out, even send SCLs to homes to say, hey, we saw that you had started an application. If you can't get those people on the phone, let's go to their homes and try and rally them up so that they can get in school and get those diplomas completed. So there's 206 of those. As you can see, suspended pending registrar accepting the application is 26 students, meaning that the registrar is probably waiting on something, but also the student may not be responding completely also. So it's not totally the registrar. And the same thing, let's, send a flyer, let's go to their home, whatever it takes to get them enrolled. And the counselors, as far as setting up schedules to get them in, 9 students, and of course this was last week, and then pre-enroll waiting for the students to show up. And you can see it's a huge number. Some of the students have went in, they've done everything, and all they have to do is show up. And some of them, and 85 of them have not. And so again, I've asked all campuses to make a concerted effort to get out and try and find those students and get them on campus. And so potentially we could have 1,905 students if all of these kids would get in the building and we get past whatever hurdles that are prohibiting them. So we're continuing to work, we're continuing to strive. Of course, to be transparent with the board, that number has went down. It was a while back, like 1985. And so for whatever reason, through withdrawals and whatnot, we have seen drop to 1905. Any questions?
Just one thing, when you ask the campus to report to you daily or whatever, the action taken on those 85 students, ask them to show your role of what they're doing.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, I think even then, like we talked about, in the 206, it's an aspect of, are we turning them away, saying you need this, or is there any way how do you get them in the door the first time?
And I'll be sharing that with principals and Dr. Gibbons as well, that we need to make every effort to get them in the seat immediately.
Right.
So I'll be reviewing that process, and I will, Jennifer, if you make note at the next board meeting, I will give an update on that. Because Carl, what is it that we require before we get a kid in the building? What documents?
So theoretically, all we need is their name, address, telephone number, and we can give them a schedule and put them in a seat. And then give them I think it's 10 days to provide the rest of the information. So
But what happens if they don't provide it after 10 days?
then we can't continue with them in
Right.
class.
The rest of the information is really, the bill certifying where or submitted, yeah, for residency is the biggest obstacle to it.
I'm not sure we need that
That's
the
not
first day.
Yeah, you don't need that first day, but that's one of
So-
the things we need, transcript, all of those.
Yeah, well, and so while we're at it, I mean, my whole thing is. When the student comes in first time and first contact, all efforts should be done to enroll them and not push them away, saying you have to complete the application. We should be having sit down, complete the application right there and then. Having the ability for them to finish it on a computer laptop, not allowing that child to really, or try to retain the child there and complete that application and enrollment. So that they're on the first day, on that day or the next day. Should be the go, but there should be no aspect of us actually turning away a child saying, go ahead and complete this at home, or go ahead and. Come back with these documentations if they have some sort of proof ID, minimum.
Well, and
But that's
Carl's heard
required.
me, I've asked principals to have a laptop at the front,
We provided the registrars with,
so no one should have to go home
Laptops.
to complete.
to do it right there on the spot.
Yeah, because that's a 206 is an indication of that it's just not. If they're pending, is that we've touched base with that student already. And now we're waiting for them to finish an application. That should be done right there and then.
Is that 206 telephonically? Is someone at the door or is it just online that we can see them?
They've started an application, the 206, they've initiated an application, but they have
Online?
not, yes, but they have not completed it.
They're
So-
not in your face, they're online.
Yeah, they started it online.
So many are just online contact. So
No, not necessarily. Some of them, I mean, they have to, they go in, they enroll and all the application is online. So as I was reading and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, what I understand for the enrollment process, it's really a process of you have to have your school information with previous school. And some kind of, residential information, whether it's a bill with your name, some kind of record. That is just a legal record of a matter of fact, and there could be more to it, I might be wrong for it. But our process, from what I understand, is they fill out the application. The application is an online application, so the students potentially come into the school or in front of you and say, yes, okay. They go and fill it out and go home and fill it out. So the reality is, if they're interested, yeah, let's go ahead and do the application here right now, at this moment.
But one of the things we just started doing to address that 206 number is we're redoing our application, our online application, so that we have a landing page. The very first thing it requests is your name, telephone number, and email address. So that if they don't go anywhere past that, we've at least got some contact information.
That
Uh,
says,
So that we can
follow
reach
up.
back out to and follow up with them. So we're trying to tighten up that process
Right.
as much as possible.
but it's not even about the follow-up, Carl. What I'm saying is that in the aspect, and I'm gonna speak corporate here, in the aspect of a sales, you have one chance to kind of sell that person to your product, to your school, to whatever it might be, right? And if you don't get them and retain them within that time, the chance of them coming back is gonna be very, very slim.
Well, but we're talking about two things.
Yeah.
So. Everybody, I hear what you're saying. You're talking about kids that come to the campus and we don't get them. Yeah,
Right.
but most of those people, most applications, yes, it's true. Most applications are started online. Most of
Yes.
our applications are started online. It's not 100 kids coming to the schools and we're
Right,
sending
I
them away.
agree.
Yeah, so most of it is, Ms. Thompson, online students. I think our schools work very hard to get kids in if they come face to face.
Yeah.
And I think the thing is, you'll be amazed at how many people, and Carrie can vouch for this because we have a counter of how many people visit our website. A lot of people will start an application and then not finish it. That's just the beast of that. I'd say out of that 206, probably 195 of those are probably just people that went to the website, clicked on application, and then have not completed. So that's why we try and call and follow up. So it's not that the majority of them have been people that's come in and we say, go home and complete an application.
Yeah, that 206, I think is all
Online.
online.
Everything.
No face-to-face to look at that.
Yeah, that's what I'm
If they
saying.
come face-to-face, we can get them, but if they're online, those are the people we're losing.
Yes, because we have
Automation has
traction on
hurt
our
you some.
website, thousands of people come across our website. And I don't know if Carrie's on, but we get a lot of people that hit our website and some of them do click on and the parent may start filling out application and the kid may say, I don't want to go there. I mean,
Oh, yeah, no, I get that. And I know there's a number, but I'm just saying, if there's a percentage of any students that have come into contact, and we can go ahead and identify them and enroll them on that day. So it's gonna help.
And I agree, and we'll look at that, because Carl, I was sharing with the board yesterday, I had you and Dr. Givens and Sylvia, y'all went through the process. We looked at where the bottlenecks were to try and make sure that we weren't keeping kids out of class 4 or 5 days as it was reported last year. So we're trying to streamline. Some things are inevitable. You're gonna always have an anomaly. I mean, I'm sure that every campus can tell you of a kid, or a kid can tell you how their experience went, where they were without a schedule for 3 days. I mean, that's gonna be, part of the process sometimes, but we try really hard to alleviate that, get them in class, get them a laptop, get them through Edgenuity and all of their, get their clever access. And we try to get them in school. I don't know that, and like I say, I'm saying it publicly, no campus should be sending kids home to complete an application. They should say, hey, but let us get you here, get a laptop and get you in a class. Or get you registered and so that you can come back.
There are some
tomorrow.
drawbacks with automation and everything. If they're face to face with us, we can capture that student, but if it's just stuff online, so that's where automation and technology can hurt you. It's good, but it can also be cumbersome until you figure it out.
And I like the, what was Commissioner was saying, once they come in, if they do come into the building, we get them signed up right then and there. And then we could even go ahead and move them over to the counselor's office and let them get that schedule. And you start on Monday.
Carl, is there a one-to-one correlation between the information it takes to start 2 or 3 items and get them entered in your attendance system so you can actually count it that day? Or is there more required to get them in the attendance system?
So there's a little bit there. It requires a state ID number, which I think has to be generated.
Take what, 24 hours?
It takes like 24 hours.
So see if they're the first day.
So sometime you maybe might have to wait a day to enter attendance because they're there at the morning or afternoon session at the appropriate time to take roll, but they're not in the attendance system because of that. Again, it's somebody's got to send in a key in
and we can go in and backdate their.
they can back up if you're miss a day, because every day's $60 or whatever. So,
Yes.
and if they're only there 10 minutes, but the 10 minutes happens to be during the count time, then hallelujah. And if it's not, shame on us. We ought to try to get them just if it's morning, get them to stay for the afternoon.
But we're trying to tighten up all those processes to streamline it as much as possible. That's our goal, is like every department has a piece of this, and from technology to academics to to finance. So everybody's doing their part to streamline the process.
I could say it's not intentional. And as I said to you all before, we have 9 campuses. If someone's doing that, we may not know
I
about
don't
it,
think that it's
but
about
it's not our process.
intention. I think it's about creating a process or go where we say, okay, our goal is to make sure that as we come in contact or touch the student shows interest, it's a process of, we should really, are we giving this child basically everything he needs at that current moment to serve him, register him, and get him done. Our goal should be on first contact, basically.
Yes.
And it's not that it might be intentional, or, we have busy lives in general, but it's a process that we should be building as a unison, because I promise, if it's just one child, it's not just one, it's multiple, I'm sure.
No,
You
I
know,
disagree with that. I
and-
think it's an anomaly, and I think that it happens. Like Ms. Thompson says, it's a product. Things will happen. I could probably pull a student from every campus that could tell you, yes, this has happened to me, but I can also pull a student and say, yeah, they got me in. I went, I registered,
Right.
and I went the next, and I was there
The
today.
next
So
day.
for every student, you can tell me that had to go and wait 5 or 6 days or was sent home. I can bring 5 or 6 that say, yeah, it was a smooth transition to get in the.
Right, but we're not talking about the 5 or 6 that are already in school. We're talking about that
But we
one
can't
that
harp
we
on
missed
the
out,
one.
But I promise you, if it's done on one, it's done on the other. So, but I'm talking about building a process in which we are actually building a goal in which it is done and activated within 24 hours versus having children that is still in the system. Because 206 on an initial start is a kind of a high number. The 26th means that, okay, these are kids have already started the application, already enrolled or already done, but. I mean, what's the most 26th? There was
Those are.
Federation of the application, yeah,
Yeah, it's already completed.
yeah. So,
So it's kind of like when you go to a new car dealership, how they do not want you to leave
Leave
that
until you
place.
get in
until
there.
you-
and so that's exactly what I'm saying. And so even with the 85 pre-enrolled, 85 pre-enrolled tells me is, how was that student? What did we do to engage with that student to say, yes, I want to go here? 85 pre-enrolled means they've already enrolled. They decided, they did all their application, but they didn't show up. Why not? I mean, did we give them a tour? Did we show them? Did we make it as easy for that child to know and understand how to come in? And so all of that can be done within 30 minutes to an hour, I don't know, even less. Just to make sure that that child is sold on the idea, basically, that RMA is their choice. But it's not just about a one-off kind of situation. It's about the whole entire number system, basically, that we're looking at. So child comes in, 206 even online, they've heard about it online. Great. So let's say about 90% of those students are students that never even touch foot in RMA. How do we get them to the door? Just calling them, leaving a message. How do we get them? How do we engage them? Do we send them a flyer? What steps are we taking?
I agree with all you're saying. I'm not disagreeing at all. I think that this online registration is good, but it also muddies the water a little bit for some people, because that really, the numbers we talked about in planning is we have what, 4,000 enrolled or something like that, 4,000 plus, and had ADA of 1,500. So we had 3 times as many students enrolled as we could handle if they all stayed at the same time. So this is important. What we're trying to do is get the kids who do come today, do get enrolled, to do whatever we can to get them to come back the next day and the next week and the next month, so that 4,000 enrolled, we do a better job of getting the average ADA up from 1,400 to 2,000 without having to enroll more students. Just do what we can to keep the ones we get enrolled. Is that?
We do go
But-
after the ones, like I said, it's not that we don't just sit around and say, oh, they hadn't shown up.
Yeah.
As I said before, we send the SCLs, we make calls, we have postcards, and I've made it very clear to principals, let's get the SCLs out to their house if we can. If the SCL can go visit them, knock on the door, say, hey, why hadn't you come to school? So the process is, I mean, somebody has to get in contact with those kids. I mean, that haven't shown up, the kids that haven't shown up, somebody has to get in contact with them. So,
Right,
we
but
can't.
That's what I'm saying. What happens before? So the step is and then I'm thinking completely different, but the step is, so we're talking about how are we engaging a kid so that they're convinced to want to come versus 85, having to chase the kids to come into the school and reducing that 85 number to maybe a lower number of those kids who actually just did the application because they thought about it and then they just really don't want to come in, right? Because there are those kids that we can do as much as we can knock on the doors, we can go there and they're not going to come. But there are probably the other ones that are still very unsure and are like, no, my friends are over here, or no, you know what, it might be a little bit too far, or it doesn't really work. I mean, do they have all the information? Have we built a vision for these children of their lives at RMA? And is that being done on the very first contact?
I know we only have one employee and that's you, but with your permission, I'd like to be able to go into RMA, Kalini, and just look at the process and see if I can see something that we can improve it or what we're doing. But with your permission, I'll do that.
I welcome that feedback.
And I think what I'm gonna go back, I'm taking from this conversation is I'm gonna make sure that there's not too much time between application completion to that point where the student gets
Maybe they become
that call.
hesitant.
Because if it's 10 days, maybe they went and found another option. So maybe there is something there that can be.
On there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that first initial, it's gonna be everything, that first initial contact with that student.
that with that computer and that mother and
Well,
that's
even then,
that
even-
says that people are looking at us.
Yeah.
206, we are alive.
And it's hard,
Correct.
the counts that come across our
We are
website
alive.
is very,
That's
it's
important.
tremendous. Like I say, and some will click and to start an application and others. And like I say, we follow up, as much as we can, but I hear what you're saying in that when they come, those that come to enroll or fill out an application, join them the campus and give them.
Oh, even then, the first phone call, how is the first phone call handled? How is, and it's a lot because we only have one employee that is responsible for each school. But making sure that it's just a process that is very easy for them to do in under 15 minutes, kind of be able to tell the RMA story to that student and create that vision to that student. So that way, if they're on the phone or if they already did it on the website, and if we find out that it's just the website, then what do we have to do on the website to engage them a little bit more or to sell them a little bit more on the idea?
That's why it was so important on tracking. Show me what you did. Don't tell me that you did. Just give me a log and show me what you did with these students. Does that make?
Anything else about the enrollment numbers?
Sorry.
Okay, we move on then to the,
Well, I've got.
oh, you got some more, okay.
So as you can see, the ADA is at 81.5, and student retention as of last week was at 90% of the students being retained. And so we can see the enrollment, which is at 1579, which was last year, this time we were at 1502. So 77 kids more this time this year than what we were last year. So anyhow, as far as the district financial stability, again, we built our numbers on the enrollment of 1,680 students with an average attendance of 79%, which would be 1,327 students. And so we, as we talked yesterday, monitoring the situation, and I will be reporting to the board as those things unfold and as enrollment numbers change up or down, we'll get a better picture. And Tammy and I, we have constant discussions on ways that we can save money, move things to grants. Jim is very good with helping us move things over to grant funding and so on and so forth to take out of the 420, take some of the pressure off the 420 general budget. And then, as you can see, the district update as far as vacancies. Right now, on average, we have 16 vacant positions throughout the district at any given time. Currently, there are 10 vacant positions, and some of this has changed. We have a principal in Fort Worth that will be starting Monday, Dr. Phillips. Who will be joining us at the next board meeting to say hello. And as you can see, the rest of those there, we have some core elective teachers we have associate teachers and so, but we have 4 campuses that are 100% and 2 at 90% and then 4 at 80%. And again, as you can see there, this year, we're kind of 50-50 certified versus non-certified. Last year, I believe we were in the 60s, about 63, 64 last year. This year, we're at 50 and 50, which is still pretty good in that a lot of charters don't have 50%. A lot of charters have people that are degreed but not certified. And so I still think that that's a good number. Of course, we try and keep it higher by continuing to look at the best qualified teachers and principals that have certification in their respective fields. And then additional updates, TEA still has not issued official ratings. There was a hearing earlier in the week, earlier last week from TEA and several school districts who sued the agency. The Travis County judge issued a temporary injunction on September 18th, and the order continues to block TEA from assigning A through F ratings for this school year, which were supposed to have been released back in August of this school year. I'll ask Dr. Givens to share TEA, there was a template that's out and, you could put in your information. And so Dr. Givens and Jim did that and you could send it to the agency. And though they're not given a rating, they would verify the numbers and the data that was put into that sheet. And then everything that was correct, they would highlight in green. And so it's basically saying, if we were issuing ratings this year, this is what your ratings would be. And when we sent them on what we calculated through Lead Forward and through the TEA template, they came back and they did put in green our ratings, which said, yes, this is what we verified that this are your ratings for each campus. So Dr. Gibbons, I'll turn it over to you. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, Jim submitted our documentation and they verified his calculations. And I'm really happy to say that our district right now's rating is an 80. So once we go to the A through F system, we will be a B district. I'm also very excited to inform you that this year, no campuses received a score lower than 70, which means we have no F, no D campuses this year at all. We have 4 campuses that are in the C's. I'm trying to do it by memory. They are, we have Fort Worth, which is a 74, and then Midland, Odessa, and Killeen are all 77s. And then we have 5 campuses that are in the 80s. I don't know all the numbers. I do know this. I know that Corpus is almost an A because Corpus was at 88. I know that Lubbock is an 82. I want to say Amarillo is an 84. And Houston is an 86. And we're missing somebody. Pasadena, I believe, is an 82. Did I miss a campus?
I think you hit them all.
All right. So it's just I want to, say to the board, you all have been extremely supportive in my tenure here with RMA and your support with us going through and revamping the grading policies and just pretty much anything we've asked for. You have been very generous with us. And then again, thanking all of the campuses, all the principals, just following through with the plan, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build systems here that will support growth academically at this district. And I, thank everyone on this call.
Thank you for your hard work.
Thanks. And so thank you, Dr. Gibbons and your team that have worked so tirelessly. Dr. Bonds and Dr. Childs and Mr. Showers, and then all of the principals on the campuses for being supportive of the initiatives. Sometimes they may not agree, but they would do, and that's always the way systems work. So
I would like for the board to recognize on some kind of letter or paper the school that made the most progress.
And that would be, honestly, I believe Pasadena. Pasadena went from a 57 to an 82.
Okay, wow. And I mean,
That's great.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
thank you, Dr. G.
Thank you.
And then any questions for Dr. Gibbons?
No question.
The Education Foundation, Ms. Armendariz and I have been in contact. She has sent me a list of events that she's looking to go to. One of them is in San Antonio, a leadership conference. And so she's working very quickly and swiftly with Kerry and Fred Brown, and we're trying to get the board members identified for the Educational Foundation. And so she's already making waves and she sent over some grants, campus grant opportunities that Kerry has shared with principals. And so I think that it's on its way. And so hopefully in November, we can have her join us for a board to give a board update of what's in place. Last but not least, student enrollment initiatives. Again, I encourage the board, if you have any ideas of things that we can do to incentivize students, but one of the things that we have, we're certainly trying to reach out to the community. Dr. Givens and Carrie and I met last week to talk about requesting a calendar from every campus each month of activities that the principal and the SCLs will be going out to try and get in front of students, community events, big ticket things in the cities. And so working together on that. So about at least 4 months, to be out and get there. And then we also looked at, participating in trunk or treats. We have our principals going out to the churches to speak and bring awareness of RMA. And so again, we're continuing to work with the colleges and universities in the local areas and the military as well, because sometimes the military have students that they're trying to get enrolled and enlisted in the military, and so that they lack a few credits in a system like ours.
That's questions for Dr. Anderson before we move on.
No, I'll just this is for all our principals that we as board members are here to support you. And so at any time, our numbers, our emails, our contact information is available to you. And if you need that meeting or some particular person that you need to get a hold of and you cannot, let us help you.
Comments, questions?
And it's the nurse with the purse.
Financial reports, Tammy?
Hello. Okay, I've summarized some of the August financial information on that introductory page. As of the August financials, we have accrued 15 out of our 180 days of instruction for this school year. And on page 48, this chart shows our enrollment data by month over the past 3 years. And as of this particular report, for this school year, the highest day in August was 1,322 students. On the following page, this is our ADA for the month of August. We are at 84% attendance, which is higher than what we budgeted, and is also consistent with the way that we started the school year for the past 3 years. On page 50, the chart represents our foundation school payment revenue, which is our ADA revenue that we have received versus the amount that we have budgeted for. We budgeted for $15.43 million, and currently with the enrollment that we have, we are recording revenue of $13.43 million. And on the following page 51, this is our days cash on hand. As a reminder, this is calculated by breaking down our annual expenses into a daily amount and then dividing that by the number of by the cash balance at the end of this particular month. And as you can see from the chart, we have 86 days cash on hand for the month of August. So if operations ceased today and we received no additional funding, we would be able to continue to pay current expenses for 86 days. At the beginning of the year, we always incur a lot of expenses. For instance, our insurance renews at the beginning of the year, our property and casualty insurance. We have to pay our Region 20 commitments. We are paying some construction in progress, towards our financing of those projects. And all of those have contributed to the total disbursements for the month of August, which is $1.4 million. And on page 52, we can see through the month of August that we have $3.45 million in expenses and $1.4 million in revenues. And on the following page, 53, we are looking at our administrative cost ratio. we touched on this earlier, but we are taking administrative costs, which for us are function 21 and 41. And we are comparing that to overall district costs. With the results that we have for the month of August, we would score 6 out of 10 points. And on page 54, this is our estimated Charter First rating. Just kind of looking at this on a monthly basis for, the Charter First presentation that we had just a little bit ago. This is where we are currently as of right now, not where we're projecting to be at the end of the year, but just currently based on our August preliminary information. And as you could see down the bottom, we would have a meets standard score as of now. And on the following page, our income statement shows that most of our spending is either at or under budget for this time of the year. We normally do see a deficit for the first several months of the year. If we look back at August of 2023, our deficit was $991,000, just slightly less than what we're seeing now. I think all of us are aware that the cost of goods and services have gone up exponentially over the past couple of years. And so that would account for the additional $275,000 that we are in a deficit compared to this time last year. And on page 56 is our balance sheet, which reflects our assets and liabilities for the district. And our net assets is reflected at the bottom of the page, currently at $13.4 million. This number, $13.4 million, represents 267 days of current operating expenditures. So dipping into our net assets would give us 267 days of operating expenses. And on page 57, this is the summary of finance for how we are paid through as of July the 19th. There was not a summary of finance published in August, but this is the one dated July 19th, showing where our revenues are currently with the state. Are there any questions?
Tammy, I've got maybe not a question, a little bit back up to the previous report, the first report. That first report was for the 22-23 school year, is that?
That's correct. So
Right.
we're always a little behind, obviously, with our data.
It runs almost 2 years behind, or at least a
Yes.
year. And the reason I'm asking that is that report looked real great, but that doesn't cover this last year, 23-24, when we had a deficit of X number of dollars. And so that first report officially will be a year and a half in the future. And the board approved a negative budget for last year, and we approved a negative budget going into this year. So I'm trying to align the good news that we had a first report that looked great, and the fact that in the meeting we're talking about, we're thinking, what can we do to stop this and move in the right direction and have a balanced budget rather than negative budget. So just mainly the questions are more a comment to the board is that things don't align. And so we're moving toward a situation where our first year is not going to be as good if we don't change the direction of the ship with the course or the speed or something to get either our expenses down or our enrollment and students up, one or the other. So anyway, that's not a question, just a comment. Thank you. That's a good report.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, we move to Carl, facilities update.
So with our Amarillo relocation, this project, we completed all of our construction documents. The demolition has been done on this project, and we're currently working with Frost Bank on financing to complete this renovation project. I did get a note from Ryan Bennett with Frostbank this morning that said, we're still on track to get this approved. He's trying to get it approved by October the 10th. That's kind of an internal deadline that Frostbank has. So, once that's done, this project will go straight into construction. We have a contractor lined up, Tri-State Construction. They're very patiently, well, they're holding on for, waiting for this to take off. So, we're very fortunate that they're holding the line with us there. So go ahead to the next one. One more. So one of the things that we were talking about yesterday when we were doing our tour was the fact that a couple of our locations were going to have storm shelters, and taking a look at this construction page, the gray area over to the left is the storm shelter for the Amarillo project. This project is right at 10,000 square feet. It's kind of our new reduced size for our schools, and both Amarillo and Fort Worth will have to have a storm shelter. So I thought you guys might want to take a look and see what that looked like. Next page. And just more of the construction documents. You can see the heavy rooms over to the left are the reinforced storm shelter once again. And we'll go to Fort Worth. And Fort Worth, once again, it's being affected by our negotiations with Frost Bank. Once Frostbank gets us cleared up on, by October the 10th, we will be moving forward with this one. We're all set to complete the construction documents and roll into construction in Fort Worth as well. There were some questions yesterday as we were walking around, and I went back and did some research last night. So originally, we paid for both buildings or both sites, $2,250,000. We put in 20%, which was $450,000 of our money. So we actually financed the 1.8 million. That was the numbers we were talking about yesterday. And out of the 35,000 square foot, what we're looking at in our planning is 10,000 square foot would be directed towards classroom space. That would include a storm shelter. 6,000 square foot would be the central office space. 10,000 square foot would be the training center, and the auditorium area runs about 9,000 square foot. So that's how the space would be allocated once that's completed. And then, as we mentioned, we also have the portable building, which we could use to continue our community outreach and services. So I think we'll be able to continue working with the community in that regard. We do have a couple of additional people that are asking for space. So once we get everything settled, I think we could fill that building on a regular basis.
Did we talk about timelines for this completion of this facility and how we could move forward and push it up?
So originally, Houston and Amarillo were supposed to be completed by December of this year. Houston is on track to complete by December of this year, but because of the delays with Frostbank, the Amarillo project will be pushed back. We're looking at possibly being able to make that move during spring break. But depending on how long Frostbank takes, it could be more or less. Now, in the past, we have talked, and the board has expressed a desire not to move in the middle of the school year. So we may or may not look at the spring break date. We may move it back to the summer for Amarillo. And then we would also be looking to complete the school part of Fort Worth to start the next school year in August at the new building. And then the central office would be finishing up right about the same time or just a little bit behind. And once again, that all depends on how things track with the financing.
Thank you.
Next page. This is the sites we were at yesterday. We're looking at, this is the one area that we were talking about, where the school itself would be located, the number of classrooms. And you can see, it kind of follows our standard plan. We have, four classrooms, 3 distance classrooms, 2 media labs. And then the blue would be the administrative areas. These are just some options. We have several to choose from. So once we crank up, we'll start narrowing it down and select an area. Once again, we'll have to have a storm shelter that would be built into these plans as well. Next is the administrative or the central office building. These are just some concepts that we have been working on. How space would be laid out and moved around. We have several of these to choose from as well. And so we're starting to tie that down to begin construction and finish off the construction documents there. Next. Lubbock roof repair. We're still working with Epic, our insurers, to finish off a roof repair in Lubbock. We were told that they approved a complete roof repair in Lubbock as opposed to just a repair. So a complete replacement is what we're looking at. And we've identified Castro Roofing, who does a lot of work with education facilities, especially out in West Texas, that would be helping us with that project. We're working with the TIPS Cooperative is where we got Castro Roofing, so they are actually out of Region 8, and so they do a lot of school work and have a very good reputation with schools. So we're working our way through that. Next page. As you can see, this is actually our roof in Lubbock. And every time it rains, it looks like a pond. So we're anxious to get this repaired or replaced as quickly as possible. Next page. Our ESSER HVAC work, we're in the process of wrapping that up. Today's the last day, so as you will see when we get to the schedule part, we're wrapping up the indoor air quality portion of that project, and we've already worked through our control system. We're working on some documents now that will show the board how much money we're actually saving by actually being able to manage our AC temperatures and things from a centralized control. We're looking at 20% plus savings on that, which is pretty significant. Next page. And as you can see, this is the projects that have been completed. We're wrapping up the last 2, which were just some exterior air exchangers that had to be installed. We'll be completing that by today, and we'll be submitting our last pay apps before the 15th of October to finalize that project. And that's it for me. Any questions or concerns?
On the storm shelters.
Yes.
Just curiosity, the police, like in Houston, they have their storm shelters, we're leasing their building. The new Houston location.
We're not required to have a storm shelter, believe it or not.
It's storm, whatever, storm.
Right, for like hurricanes or.
Yeah,
We're not required to have any sort of special space for that.
well, they might get my terminology wrong. The spaces you've been referencing in these 2 new locations, what?
They're specifically because they're considered FEMA Zone 4 wind hazards, or where you would experience a tornado. And so that's why we have to have them in North Texas. But along the coast, our Corpus Christi campus has some reinforced hurricane windows on the front. They're like 6 inches thick. They're pretty significant. But the Houston campus itself, other than the shatterproof windows that we'll be adding to the building, won't have anything as significant as what we're looking at in Amarillo.
Well, all these are sort of unfunded mandates. I don't think there's any extra money to pay for them, like the security, same thing. But what about backing up to, say, the Odessa location or clean? Do we have to go back and do anything there, or grandfathered in?
Their grandfather, well, they're not required. They're not considered tornado hazards. It's always something funny. So we have school in Pasadena, school in Corpus, and they're not required to have flood insurance, but our Odessa campus, which is in the middle of the desert, does. So it's just where FEMA thinks the water is going to land.
Just curious. Next. 6 action items. Dr. Anderson.
All right, then again, we have our contracts. These are for approval by the board. We have our these are the drug dogs that come to the campuses several times a year, usually twice a year, or in the fall and in the the fall and the spring they come and we do the drug detections. And then also Region 20, our Eduphoria site, as you can see, their lesson plans and things of that nature to drive our instruction. And then LearnKey, which is part of our student certification trainings that we have to that we provide our students. And then our counselor cooperative with Region 20 in the amount of $2,000. Our TEKS resource system, which the TEKS are the Texas Essential Knowledge Skills that are basically what drives our instruction, our academics, and what students are required to know. And then the TEKS Bank test generator as well with Region 20. And then lastly, Ascender. There's the state has moved to the TSDS. They've moved the states, and it's requiring certain, what's the word I'm looking for, Carl? Certain changes and updates to the way we handle PEEMS and what's required in order to do the data transfers. And so in order for that to take place, we need to share it with Region 20 a little bit more money. So,
but we are compliant.
Yes, we are compliant. Yeah, there's a big push by the state. The commissioner talked about it on last week. And some school districts aren't ready at all. So fortunately we are, because we're with the Assembly. Any questions about the approved contracts that we're asking the board to approve?
We don't have any questions. We have a motion.
Rose Thompson, I move the board approve the contract is listed in exhibit number 1 and ratify the contracts listed on exhibit 2.
Donald Nimick, I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. Mr. Nimick.
I vote yes.
Ms. Pearson.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Ms. Brown.
Yes.
Board President, yes. Motion carries unanimously. Next item is Series, Model 2 instruction. I think that some of us have been working on committees to, review these next few items. I don't know who's on the instruction. Who's on the,
Dr. Gibbons.
Hello, can you hear me?
yes,
All right, we're getting ready to go over the adoption of RMA Board Policy Series Module 2 Instruction. These are updates that have been vetted and supplied by the law offices of Schulman, Lopez, Hofer, and Adelstein. Persons who are on the committee were Mr. Clemens, Ms. Thompson, Dr. Anderson, myself, and Dr. Lambert. I was just going to go over just some highlights of the policy, or do you want me to go through all of the changes?
I believe just the highlights.
Okay.
Unless a board member has a specific question, in which case they'll,
Okay.
ask
Okay.
you.
I just have right now just the highlights. We added in the instructional piece for fentanyl abuse and drug poisoning education awareness for students. Okay. The other one was the makeup policy. And here it is now. Teachers may assign a late penalty to any project turned in after the due date. The late projects will be accepted within the grading period without penalty with an excused absence. All late work will be graded and added to the grade book. 5 points per week will be deducted from each assignment. An action plan to complete all missing assignments will be created by the teacher. RMA will ensure that the student and parent are notified in writing concerning penalties for late work. This is on page 148. On page 169, it was concerning addressing religious holidays and ensuring that during testing that we allow any student to observe their religious holiday. And currently, this is not an issue with RMA. Okay. On page 186, it's about parental option for student retention. And this basically states that if a parent insists that a student retake a course, that second grade will be the final grade, even if it's lower than the first grade. Next is page 190. It's concerning library materials. The state of Texas has become very strict about what materials can be in the library. And basically what we decided was we will take an audit of all current classroom libraries. We don't have campus libraries, but we do have classroom libraries, and we are still responsible for the content of classroom libraries. So we will do an audit of all classroom libraries, and we are currently looking for a database using the ISBN numbers to vet all of those books that the teachers submit for their classroom libraries. And then I want to say this is page 212. And this will also be addressed in module 6. It's the moving of dyslexia and related disorders. And those are the primary highlights for module 2. Any questions?
We don't have any questions, any comments?
I do. In regards to the grade option, basically, is there a specific reason why we are accepting one grade over another?
Yes, it's
Right.
because we don't want, what it says is the student actually passed the course the first time, right? Okay. But for some reason, the parent wants the child to retake the course. Okay? So they will take the second grade no matter what it is. So if the second grade is lower, then that's the grade they will take. That way you'll prevent parents from just forcing kids to just take classes because they don't like the final grade that the student received. Because these are situations where the student did pass the course. This is, I'll be honest, I've never run into this with us, with a parent made a student retake a course in which they already passed. But you never know, you'll get Monday, you might get a parent who is trying to make their kid the valedictorian and retaking all these classes.
I recall that's one thing that we did have a little discussion on, Ms. Thompson. So if someone has a better idea, I don't know that we're really necessarily thrilled with this solution. We just struggled to find a solution. And then just the keeping up with it to give them the better of the two grades. Don't know. So this is, as Dr. Givens said, it's a problem we've never had. Maybe we're creating a problem where we've never had
Yeah,
one.
it just kind of sounds to me, and I get why we're trying to not encourage them to take a possibly if they already passed it the first time, right? But it just sounds to me like we work against everything that, I mean, you look at college history, taking you get the higher grade, you look at SAT scores, you take the higher grade. But here we are doing the opposite, and like, that's just the only thing that kind of just sounds. So I get where you guys are coming from too, and I'm not opposing it, I'm just,
I understand.
coming from an outside perspective.
I believe we talked quite a bit about it.
Yeah. Sure you will.
We have a
Is
motion.
there a way to maybe just not allow it maybe, or,
Excuse me, board members
yes,
and Dr. Gibbons as well. Can we go to page 187 because I believe it is already in policy, repeating a grade or course for which credit has been earned, item E, I believe. Let me know if I understood that correctly, that is how it should be according to the education code stated there.
Can you go to the exact link? Okay.
yeah, so are we saying that we're adopting a different policy in that case, in that regard, because otherwise I think that's perfectly okay. Just tells them that's the grade.
Dr. Gibbons?
Repeat your question, I didn't quite hear it, it was a little muffled on my end.
Right over here. So my question is, it's adding that one line is unless Richard Billboard adopts a policy to a different effect. So are we adopting that policy basically and explaining that? Is this the policy we're adapting? Because I just feel like the wording on there, just saying that it is the grade that you're receiving.
It says the student who receives a passing grade or who earns a credit for a high school course shall retain Richard Million's original assignment or of a grade or award of credit when a student is retained under this policy. So I guess the way it would be is if they took it again, and it was a higher grade, they would get the higher grade, but otherwise they would get the same grade, the original grade,
Right.
basically.
But then we're also saying for those children that fell and are retaking it, they get to have the higher grade.
Yes, but see, this is the issue. If they didn't, this is students who didn't fail the course. This is not a failing course.
Right.
Students who fail get to retake the course for credit recovery. This is, you don't like the grades you got, but you passed the course. What I want to say was, Ms. Thompson, what we were trying to prevent was someone who's trying to artificially get their child, because usually this is a parent, not a student, trying to get their kid, like, let's say you're valedictorian, trying to get that kid to be valedictorian because they made a 92, but they want them to make 100. So they keep making them retake a course over. Because these are past courses. Like I said, we've never run into this. We've never had a student retake a course that they've passed and gotten credit for. The only time I've ever actually run into this in my career has honestly been at the other end in kindergarten. When I was a kindergarten teacher, you did get parents who did not want their kids to leave kinder.
I'm that parent.
It's okay. I just want to make sure that there's just that what's easiest for a win-win for everybody, basically. And if it doesn't have to be touched, and if it doesn't have to be, then we will leave it, right? But I mean, you guys have the educators in that regard for that committee, and they know a lot. They are brilliant people, so I'll just I'll sit back.
What we're basically new policy is saying is we would just, whatever the second grade is, would be the final grade.
Because when you average in the grades,
But
from
it's
the
just
transcript,
kind of, I mean, it's just, okay, but let's just assume there's just so many, like, there's so many questions there. Cause now we're comparing, let's say you did fail the grade, you're taking the class again, you passed it. You get the higher grade, but you passed the grade, you're taking the class again, and you failed it. You're saying.
No, I'm assuming no, take
Right.
away the failure out. This is not about failing grades. This is more, the first grade, I don't like it. So we're not, the word failure isn't here. You take a course, you take government, you make an 82 as your final grade. You don't want to make an 82. If you apply to Harvard, you want to make a.
I get that. I get that you're saying one grade's 88, the other grade it came down to 87.5, and you have to accept the 87.5. I would be, as a parent, completely upset about that. You know, but I get where you're coming from as well. They were trying to this way for them to take the course if they have already passed to retake it again. It just leaves a lot of questions.
Dr. Gibbons, how do you average in that grade on the transcript is part of the question?
Well, this would replace the grade.
Replacement.
Average, it would be, you would take the second grade. Whatever the second grade is.
That would be the transcript grade that you would use for the.
That would be the grade, that would go to the
Right.
university, that would be the grade that would be on your transcript.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay.
Great fraction on this policy and social policy. We have a motion.
I move that the updated RMA Texas Board Policy Series 1 and 2 for instructions be adopted.
Do we have a second?
Donald Dimick, I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Newman, have you done it?
Yes.
Mr. Baion?
Yes.
Ms. Thompson?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
No.
I believe I don't think it makes any difference in passage. I believe the chair will vote no on this first.
Right.
I think it's something we might come back and look at again in the future. Just from my perspective, if it would seem kind of like in the football world that we had the game won, the clock was running out, and we decided to run another play, and the other team picked up the phone and run back 100 yards. The kid just passed the course, he's going to graduate. He and his parents, somebody decided he's going to take it over again the second time. He fails it, he doesn't graduate, and he's all the way back. So I guess when we talked about this the first time, I plead that I didn't do a very good job of listening or watching, but until Becky pointed out this following section that if we didn't do anything, that we had it covered.
Hold
May
on,
not,
so,
maybe adequately, but we had it covered.
wait a minute. So a kid fails the class,
You all, this is.
Passes the class. Hold on, wait. A kid fails or passes the class,
Yes.
wants to take the course again,
Mhm.
and instead of scoring an 89, he scores an 87. And we give him the 87?
Yes,
Yes.
because he passed it the first time. He would simply get the grade of the second time. Because he didn't have to take the class over. He already got it.
But we need to check that, because I've never heard of that. Usually, if it's on the transcript as an 88, you don't replace the higher grade with a lower grade. Let's look into that.
That's my disagreement with
Can we
it.
bring this policy back next month or next board meeting?
We've already,
It's,
we've already voted on it. We
yeah,
can
we
rediscuss
voted on it,
it.
we got some, but we
We'll
still,
amend it.
but we still can,
Yeah, we can
we
amend it.
can
We'll bring
address
it
it
back.
if we want to. Sure.
Let's look into that one. I'll have to make a call and check on that one. I've had that in my years in Crowley, and a kid may have taken a course at another school that they actually had already taken, but the school didn't know they took it, and we always went with the higher grade.
That's administrative error.
Yeah.
But we do that in college too. We do that with test scores. And we're doing the opposite for us.
I'll make some calls and check on that.
Very good. We passed what today, we rediscovered it, make amendments to it.
The
We've already voted on it.
next series of policies we address will be student policies. Dr. Gibbons.
Okay, yes. Okay, well, now we're looking at module 3 students. Okay, those members of the committee for module 3 were Mr. Nimick, Mr. Okay, I'm gonna say you're wrong. Bayon. Dr. Anderson and myself. Okay. And again, I'm looking at the highlights for module 3. Okay. On page 249, it is the we kind of know it as the Crown Act. It's about discrimination against hair texture or protective hairstyles commonly or historically associated with race. For the purpose of this policy, the term is protective hairstyles, which includes braids, locks, and twists. Okay. Next is the prohibited bullying. It's on page 267. It just refortifies the bullying process. It also requires counseling, although how would you put this? The counselor can't be a part of the bullying committee, because the counselor is there to basically be a mediator between those who are having issues with each other. Huh? Next is the compulsory attendance, page 291. Again, it's about religious holidays, observing religious holidays. Also, it talks about the career and professional investigation visits that students in their junior and senior years are able to take off and be able to have approved absences for those events. It also talks about being election clerk, working with the elections. Okay. Next is the administration of medication. It's on page 3 15, and I'm gonna let if Mari Lou is here. She's here to answer those kind of questions dealing with Narcan, the EpiPens, and the respirators for students who have asthma.
Dr. Gibbons, I don't see Mari on Zoom. I don't know if Carl.
But I know, but Mari was saying that the district is in the process of putting all of these stipulations in place. Making sure we have right now, I do believe we have the EpiPens and the Narcan, and we're in the process of getting the when you have asthma, the pumps.
The respiratory distress section.
Yes.
So yes, ma'am, that's correct. Everything's in place, and the inhalers, that section is coming up as well. That is also has been established with the same doctor that helps us, Dr. Rettig, with the other two items on this policy.
And also we're in compliance with the seizure plan and seizure management and treatment plan as well. Okay. Again, we're in compliance with the screening procedures, the photo screening and electric eye chart. One important part of the child abuse, which is on 350, is talking about what is not abuse. And if a parent really is trying hard to get help for their child, that is not considered neglect. Okay. And then again, we are in compliance with the human trafficking postings signs. And I believe that are the highlights I have for module 6.
Questions?
I'm sorry, module 3.
Questions, comments on the student module 3, section 3? Module 3. No questions, no comments. We have a motion to react on this. I move that we adopt policy series module 3 as presented by Dr. Gibbons. We have a second.
Julius Miles, second.
Motion is second. We adopt module 3. Ms. Pearson,
Yes.
Ms. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Ballin,
Yes.
Mr. Nimitz,
Yes.
Bob Clemens, yes. Motion carries. The updated RMA board policy series module 6, special education, Dr. Lambert.
Yes, I am here. Hello. Okay, so we had on our committee for Module 6 was Ms. Pearson, Mr. Bayon, Dr. Anderson, myself, and Dr. Gibbons. And I'm going to call your attention. I'm looking at another screen here where I have my notes. We're going to start at page 15, and I'll talk you through those 15 through 17. The first is in regards to dyslexia and just the language that surrounds. We are now given 3 options on how who is becoming the expert in dyslexia in our SPED department, and that is the language you see here, and who needs to be a part of that ARD IEP committee. On page 16, this talks about ensuring that we, our parents that are learning English as a second language, we are taking in consideration their first language in sending them documentation, or 2 things: addressing their request to have an ARD in their native language and ensuring that our IEP documents are going to them in their native language. And then we're going to go to page 24. The state of Texas has a Driving with Disability program where they have trained peace officers on the importance of if you're to look for is when you pull over a student that may have a disability that impairs their ability to communicate. So think of those students with autism, and sometimes those students with an emotional disability. And so here at RMA, what we've decided to do is provide the parents or the art committee with that flyer. There's a pamphlet, actually, not a flyer, that the state of Texas is asking that we share. And we're doing that with every student, regardless of their disability. Then we're going to go to page 27. 27 talks about a couple of things. It changed our timeline in regards to how fast we act when a student transfers in, and it is asking that we have a policy in place when a student enrolls before the first day of school, a student with a disability. And so that language is changed here. Just for the board to know, we do have a solid transfer process in place where we're addressing those students with disabilities as they enroll. This is specifically talking about if they are enrolling over the summer. Our next page is page 40 through 43. It digs a little bit deeper into dyslexia. Dyslexia instruction was previously provided or could be provided under Section 504, and that is no more. So it is all under special education. And so that includes the section that you see about referrals. No longer do parents have a choice when they suspect their child has dyslexia that we evaluate them for to receive services under 504 or SPED. It is only special education, their need for specially designed instruction. You can scoot up a little bit. There's also an update to Dyslexia Handbook, and that is actually posted on our website under our special populations header. And this continues to talk about the students with dyslexia and related disorders and how we treat that identification and testing and referral process. Okay. And then we're going to go to page 65 through 72. I don't see a change though. There we go. And it just shores up the language on the graduation plans in regards to the 22 plan. And so that is something that we have been aligning ourselves with because we knew this language was coming. And so we shouldn't see any big change in the in our practice here. And then the last one is still the Texas Driving with Disability Program information. It's pages 110 through 111. And I think it just probably restates. Okay, may have my page number. Oh, no, okay. Okay. And it's just the program information here, what I spoke about, that the peace officers are trained, and then it includes a health condition, which is what they consider autism, and an emotional disability. There's a couple of other changes that I want to talk about. I'm sorry, Jennifer, I don't have the page numbers right in front of me, but I can talk through it. So previously, one of the disabilities was called emotional disturbance, and it came with a negative connotation, right? And so what we are proposing and what the state has pushed down is that we now call we rename that as an emotional disability, not a disturbance. Any questions about any of these pieces?
Questions, comments? Have a motion on this Module 6, special education.
Donald Dimick, I move that the updated 2024-2025 Module 6 be adopted.
Have a second?
I second that motion, Julius Meyer.
We have a motion second on the Module 6, special education. Ms. Pearson,
Yes.
Ms. Thompson,
Yes.
Val,
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Bob Clemens, yes, motion passes. E, adoption of updated RMA parent student handbook and code of conduct for the 24-25 school year. Dr. Gibbons, are you still with us?
Yes, I am. Okay. And those who are on the committee for the student handbook adoption on September 13th were the following: was Mr. Nimick, Mr. Bayonne, Dr. Anderson, and myself. Okay. First one is a lot of this is from the prior module 3, when it had to do with respiratory distress. All of these things have now been put into place into the handbook. So the respiratory distress, the use of the EpiPens, the use of the Narcan for the opioids, the seizure management plan, all of those updates that were in that module are now in the handbook. The biggest things that we haven't discussed so far today is the use of artificial intelligence to make sure that students are not being dishonest in regards to the use of artificial intelligence for AI, that they can use it as an aid, but they cannot use it to substitute their actual work. Next is the standardized testing accelerated education plan. These are for students who have failed the EOC, that we have to have a plan for them, and that there needs to be a meeting between the teacher and the parent in regards to the student and the plan for to help prepare them to pass their STAR test. And then the last part, again, goes back to the artificial intelligence and the code of conduct. It's again with academic integrity, using AI to substitute as if it's your own work. And then the other one is using AI to make deep fakes of other students and staff. That you cannot do that. And those are the highlights for the student handbook.
Questions, comments? Entertain a motion, we approve the student handbook.
Yeah, I move that the updated 2024-2025 student parent handbook and student code of conduct be adopted.
Have a motion, we have a second.
Second, Rose Thompson.
We have a motion and a second on the adopting the student parent student handbook and code of conduct. Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
No?
Yes.
Sorry? Yes. Ms. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
It's, have we had any, in the interim here, have we had any requests for start? For public comments in the interim?
No, sir.
All right, it's 11:39. We'll go into closed session under the provisions of Texas Education Government Code, section 551.071, 551.084, to discuss Superintendent's Evaluation Guide for the coming school year. Executive session. It's 12:45. We return from executive session. As a result for executive session, we do have a motion or a action to take.
Sure. Donald Nemick, I move to approve the amendments to the 24-25 superintendent evaluation goals as discussed, with the option of readdressing the human resources components at our next board meeting.
We have a second.
Rose Thompson, second.
The vote. And Ms.
Ms. Pearson, yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Sorry, Ms. Thompson. Ms. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Ballard.
Yes.
And Donald Nemick, yes.
Bob Stevens, yes. Motion carries. We have any other business? If not, meeting is adjourned.
Public comment.
Oh. I'm gonna share these with you all too. This is for that bonus structure